and welcome to the podcast where we tell you everything you want to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura Fawks, Lapole.
And I'm Katy Holloway, and today is the day we're starting it all. Episode 1, and I'm super excited for this.
Me too.
We've been talking about this for quite some time, planning and getting this up, figuring out a name for the podcast, which we should probably say it's For the Love of Nature.
Yeah.
Because we didn't say that yet. So it's For the Love of Nature. I feel like this is
the story of all podcasts. No one knows the title until a little bit into it.
Well, it's For the Love of Nature. And like Laura said, we're just going to be talking about nature, just so much about nature. All right. Let's see here. All right. So what is this podcast? So every week we're going to select a different nature-related topic. It can be anything from specific animals to moss, crazy nature stories. The options for us really are limitless. As long as we keep finding awesome stuff to talk about, we'll be here. And so far, we're going to... We 100% will. I feel like this is just our livelihood. Yes. Everything that we've been preparing for our entire lives has been leading up to this moment where we're going to find people like us who just want to know useless things about the world around them, and they want to know about it, and that's 100% us. So the podcast that we're going to be doing, it's going to have 12 episodes in a row that are going to make up a season. Then we're going to take a few weeks off, a break, and then bring on another season. And all this sort of stuff will be supplemented on our Instagram and Twitter account. It's going to be at, I keep wanting to say Footlong Podcast.
Footlong?
Footlong.
Not Footlong. Oh, no.
FTLON Podcast. No. G. Footlong Podcast. For the Love of Nature Podcast. So definitely be sure to check those out. So, like I said earlier, I really feel like this is, I don't want to say the peak of our lives. But I really feel like this is what we've been prepping for. So we both grew up in Pennsylvania, in the woods, but in different sides of the state too.
Yeah, a very different Pennsylvania, or PA as the locals call it. Nobody calls it Pennsylvania there.
No, it's all PA. It's PA.
It's too long of a word for us Pennsylvanians.
Yes. We call us Yinzers because I'm from the western side of the state. So I'm from western Pennsylvania outside of Pittsburgh. And Laura, you're from...
South Central, baby.
Yeah. So we're definitely different geographical areas, but we both grew up camping, hiking. My dad, he hunted, all that stuff. So we definitely grew up in the woods, exploring, picking up snakes, turning over rocks, all that stuff. I feel like what makes a nature kid, that was the lifestyle. Like we really had the perfect childhood, to develop us in our careers.
Like a combination of both like upbringing and access, because I definitely think like not only was I encouraged to be out there and told I needed to be
forced outside,
but I also could, because I was like, besides just the backyard, which was fine, but we also went like there's lots of state forests in Pennsylvania, and we were there every weekend.
Yes. So just surrounded by the woods. And then So we didn't actually know each other whenever we were there. Again, grew up in different sections of the state, but we actually met in undergrad. So we went to undergrad together, and we both had the same major, zoo and wildlife biology, and we were in tons of classes together. But do you remember when we actually met? Do you remember?
Yeah, kind of. Okay.
Think about it.
First of all, we went to Malone College. And then Malone changed to Malone University. So shout out to Malone University. But I'm pretty sure that we met, it was my freshman year, fall semester, your sophomore year, freshman semester, and it was in invert. I'm pretty sure.
Nope, before that. There was something before that,
What?
And it had to do with the woods, the canoeing trip.
Oh, yeah, duh. Because that was the intro to,
That was the intro.
So it was like when us freshmen had to come, and then we were like, a couple weeks before school starts, and you had to, meet other freshmen and just kind of get used to school.
And I was one of your fearless leaders.
Yes. That was an insane trip.
For bringing you guys through the treacherous 6 inches of the Clarion River in western Pennsylvania.
But in general, yeah, that was nuts.
That was a fun trip.
But it was super fun.
Yeah, and so that's where we met, and I distinctly remember at one point, because I had another zoo bio student in my canoe with me, and then you were in a different one, and I distinctly remember at one point I jumped out of my canoe to grab a snake, and the first person that said, "What is it?" was you.
I can't believe you remember that. That's amazing.
Because I totally remember, because again, that's whenever I started calling like the other student that was there. I was like, oh, like a little duckling.
Oh,
because you guys were like, you guys are like the little freshmen coming in.
Show us.
Yeah, you guys are so excited. So that really was our first, and we did have a lot of classes together. I mean, zoo bio is
all of the zoo bio classes together for the most part.
Yeah, and it's intense. Even though we were a year apart, Laura was a brainiac.
Well,
so she came in, and so we were in a lot of the same classes together. And we studied. I mean, we studied a lot of library study sessions.
Yeah, I'll never forget where we were all together, and I'm pretty sure you were there. And we said that I think it was for chemistry, and we said that sin must have entered the world when math was developed.
Which is 100% accurate statement. But I mean, I would say like zoo bio, I mean, because it is a nice combination, at least the curriculum that we had. It's a nice combination of sciences, psychology, and very little difficult math.
Which is half the reason. I mean, I specifically chose this major because I saw there wasn't calculus involved.
Yes. Yeah. Pre-calc. We're like, I can get that. I can get through pre-calc.
And no organic chem. That was the other thing. I was like, I don't really...
Yeah. And to this day, I have a very successful career, and I never took either of those classes.
Right.
So, right. And we're both managers now. So, I mean, like, come on. We didn't need it. We didn't even need it. So then after undergraduate, then
parted ways for a bit.
For goodness, a couple years, a few years.
Yeah, like 3 or 4.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. And then I was working at a zoo much farther south. I don't know how much we want to go into names here.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was like, do we talk about names here? I don't know.
Much farther south.
If anybody really cares, they can Google us and they'll find out.
Yes. Yeah, really. LinkedIn. Yeah. Instagram, they'll figure it out. And I actually had an opening. I was the program coordinator at the time, and I actually had an opening for an educator, and I was talking to my supervisor, and he was just like, we really need somebody who can keep up with you, because we have, zoos have at least the zoo we were at, very teeny tiny budget. And so it was, do you know anybody who could survive on very little pay, but very energetic and passionate about this field? Which I feel like is
it's such a horrible selling point. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, yeah, I know somebody, super smart and loves doing this stuff. And you were already working in zoos. I mean,
I was only for a bit, but I was definitely I was struggling because I was super seasonal. Yeah. Hours in the winter were awful. I was making nothing. And so when you were like, hey, would you want to be like pretty much full time making a little more money? I was like, I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's whenever we started working, and we worked in the conservation education department. And I'll say work loosely because it really was just us having fun. Again, we did do work. But.
Right, and you made that department super successful. I mean, it was awesome. We pioneered a lot of stuff, which was pretty cool. Yeah, but it didn't feel like work.
Yeah, it never felt like work, and especially because
except for the graphics. The graphics felt like work.
I was just gonna say some of my favorite memories was working and cussing out graphics, the graphics printer until 7, 8, 9 o'clock or later.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite memories. Actually, it's putting up signs after dark, terrified of all the roaches that have come out.
And a week before the accreditation walkthrough for our zoo, and we had to get this stuff done. And the director at the time was like, I need these signs done. And it was a very last minute decision, mixed with the printer wouldn't work, mixed with why the heck are we doing this in-house? Well, because, zoos don't have a lot of money, so they do try to, try to not outsource as much as possible. And
which
so
still makes sense, but you'd think, oh, well, okay, then in-house we'd have a graphic designer.
You would think, but
no. Instead, we'll just give it to the educators who've never done anything graphics in their life, but thankfully YouTube exists.
Yes. So and my graphics experience was literally when the curator, when I was first hired, she left and she did a lot of the signage work. And then whenever she left, they were like, listen, somebody's got to do it. And I was like, I guess I'll do it. And I looked at it as job security, not knowing what I was getting myself into of like cussing this stupid printer out, huffing the fumes.
Yeah, like potentially almost dying. We'll probably have cancer later.
Whenever we start twitching and our brains just stop functioning, it was that machine. So, but I would say we had fun there. Because that's really where a big portion of our formal careers kicked off. And so we're both certified interpreters, which is basically a professional talker. Because you have the certified interpretive guide, and I have the certified heritage interpretation or interpreter through NAI. And so we really, I don't want to say beefed up our resumes at that point, but that's essentially what we did. It was a growing time.
No, totally. Because even though there were some majorly rough periods and we were thrown into things we had no idea how to do, it made us learn how to do them. I would not, neither of us would be where we are for sure without having to do it.
No. And at the time, for most of, I would say for the toughest part, it was just you and me. As far as educators go, it was just you and me. And then we hired, we had a couple interns that were free, and then I hired a couple more staff. But for the bulk chunk of it, it was us as far as just educators, and we had other people within our education department, the keepers and things like that. But as far as just focusing on programming, a lot of that fell on us. And
like development and marketing and all that stuff. And
it was, it was fun. And that's where, we really started talking about other things we would want to do as far as, I don't know, just goals and achievements and where we saw our lives going and stuff like that. But
and how can we make more money?
Yes, was the biggest thing because we were making chump change, and so now that we're at different places, we've talked about having a podcast. Whenever we were there, we talked about different podcasting ideas, and I feel like that was before podcasting got really big.
Yeah, we were cool before then.
Yeah. But we had a lot of other really good ideas too, our most popular one that we had that we started roping the interns into it is we were very convinced. I did the math, and we're going to have a goat milk soap / scorpion farm / butterfly farm, and
it was going to work. It was going to work, and it was going to make us major moolah. Yes,
I figured out if we owned 7 goats that we could bring in just 7 goats. We could bring in over $100,000 a year if we sold all of our soap. And then the scorpion farming, that they pay people to do that kind of crap.
And it's it's the most expensive liquid in the world.
Yes.
It is $39 million per gallon. So we were trying to figure out how many scorpions do we need to start milking.
So we need 7 goats and how many scorpions? And we were convinced. And we all joking aside though, we were like, why? First of all, why did we get degrees? Why did we go to college to get in debt whenever we could just be milking scorpions and having a goat milk farm? And then that was the other thing we found out was the butterfly farm, because there's such a market for butterfly farming because people use them for their weddings.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? So we just decided why rely on one thing when you could have 3 ridiculous things?
Yeah, so that was definitely one of our big pipe dreams. And then even short term, we were like, hey man, we could probably make just money panhandling.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need to have a shout out to our poor dream of Zuganru, which is going to be an amazing band with just the 2 of us.
Yeah. That makes it sound like so much poorer than what we were, but we really were that poor.
Okay, yeah, because like, yes, we're just above minimum wage, so we're pretty freaking poor.
Yeah.
and yeah.
Panhandling.
So yeah, you with your hand drum, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I am so on board. So I got myself a Native American flute, and
we never practiced once.
Right. Not once. But
I brought the drum in. I remember that. And I remember we brought it in and everybody was like, "What is that?" We're like, "We're starting a band." Yeah. Like, "What?" Like, "We're starting a band. Like, we're going to be panhandling."
And remember when we decided that maybe your toddler could get in on it and start like slapping his cheeks.
Slapping his cheeks. Which still to this day he's very good at. If we ever need to bring back Zuganru for one of maybe a fan listening live stream, we could have Luke in his cheek smacking. So
okay, well, I guess we better get to the nature part. Or do you want to talk about vision?
Yeah, I mean, might as well. I mean, so we kind of talked about what we want to see for the podcast in general, that we're just going to be talking about nature stuff. And we want to keep it very relaxed, kind of like what we're doing now, very conversational. But, I mean, Laura and I, like we said, both went to undergrad together. And then I have a master's. Laura's finishing up her master's right now. And it is all environmental related stuff. So we really do have a passion for all of this. And really the overall vision is we just want to have fun with this. We know so much random stuff. And we joke whenever we say we've been preparing for this since we were kids. But
we're not lying.
But we're not lying.
It's true.
Very much
and we want you guys to know that we do kind of know what we're talking about. Like we do. Katie was saying, like we've got degrees. We've been studying, like reading, watching, absorbing information our entire lives. And, not that we're not going to get things wrong every now and then, which I'm sure people will let us know, but we are trying to give you insane scientific information.
Yeah. Because we like it. I think it's just how we are. We're both researchers, but like how our brains work. We're definitely both researchers. So we just really want to have a lot of fun. So generally the overview, it'll be like a little introduction. And then we're going to talk about like current news things that are happening right now. And then we'll be going into more of an episode. So every week it'll have a theme, a topic, like I said earlier. And so this week's theme is amazing killers.
Yep. The unexpected.
The unexpected.
Of the animal world. I'm so excited.
I am too, because we haven't read we have no idea. I know the animal she's talking about for this one. I know the animal she's talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. But
we're going blind.
Totally blind. We do have some other people that are helping us on our, can we call them staff?
Yeah.
Let's call them our staff, our team.
Unpaid staff for now.
So we have Kim. She's our manager. Shout out to Kim, who keeps us on track and asks very insightful questions that we're like, oh yeah.
We should have thought about that.
Yeah, we definitely should have thought about that. So she definitely is a huge part of our team. And then we have Josh. Josh also worked at the zoo with us, and somehow we conned him into this. And Kim also was at the zoo with us as a volunteer, as a docent. And so, again, I mean, that was just a fun time for us, but brought those two goobs back, and they're going to be, they're also going to be helping us. So you'll definitely at some point be hearing from both of them as well. So, all right, Laura, do you want to take over
I'm ready. So when we were thinking about, okay, what topic do we want to cover first? We were thinking, okay, what are people really going to be interested in? What is going to hook them? Unexpected killers, because who doesn't want to hear about animals that kill people sometimes? and not just the animals that seem obvious. Like, okay, we all know that, occasionally predators eat people. These are not predators, which makes it even better. So mine is the moose menace.
The moose man. I love your topic or your title.
I love alliteration. So I'd like you all to close your eyes, unless you're driving, and picture this. There's this majestic, large, brown, four-legged creature. Now, most of you probably know what a moose is, unless you're not from the United States.
Like, wait a minute.
But some people might not be from the United States, so I'm going over it anyway. So you see this huge, large brown creature with 4 legs, and you may recognize it as a moose. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's just this huge, beautiful deer with this kind of a little bit derpy face.
Kind of?
Yeah,
definitely derpy face.
So you want to go up to pet it. And as you get closer, its hackles start to come up on its back, its ears lay back against its head, and it starts licking its lips like a psycho.
Does it really do that?
They really do that. Lick their lips.
Have you ever seen the Office episode where, do you watch The Office?
Occasionally.
Okay, so there's an Office episode real quick where Dwight and Michael are going into Prince paper, and their emergency signal is to lick lips, but it's like
well, I mean, moose lips are huge, so it probably kind of looks like that.
So that's immediately what I thought of, is just like a very elaborate lip licking.
Well, it licks its lips and then it charges, and it is like a train coming at you, and that may be the last thing you see. So that is kind of what, a moose attack might look like. But in general, moose are the largest in the deer family. They live up in Canada, Alaska, and the northern parts of the United States. They can be up to 7.5 feet tall, which is big.
Yeah, that's just, I want to say unnecessary. like for a dear,
just
let's just take a deer and add steroids to it just make it unnecessarily
tall. It's definitely our tallest in North America. And then not only are they 7.5 feet tall, but the males have the largest antlers of any animal at 6.5 feet wide.
Which is, again...
So you can just lay in those antlers, and I still wouldn't be touching either side.
Yeah, right? That's how short we are.
Yes. And they're about 1,300 pounds. So,
that's nuts.
Respectable. Some horses might weigh more, but they're also not 7.5 feet tall. They can also run up to 35 miles per hour, which is 2 times faster than most humans and at least 3 times faster than me.
Yeah.
Because
I like that that's the comparison, because everybody knows how fast Laura runs.
Yeah, right.
And so
it's to give you about 3 times slower than a moose. That's how fast.
Can I start referencing that now?
As a speed unit?
Tell me about Laura. Well, she runs 3 times slower than a moose. So she has brown hair, and
speaking of brown hair, they do have brown hair. With very long legs, sharp hooves at the end, and a face that can only be described as derpy, as we said before. And as I said, introducing this topic, they're herbivores. So these guys, they just like to hang out in wetlands and eat plants for the most part. But they're also incredibly dangerous.
Like 1,300 pounds, though, just on plants. Like, that's a heck of a vegetarian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a lot.
I mean, they eat all day long, just like elephants. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodness.
Because, not very efficient. So, more people are injured by moose in Alaska than by bears. So just wrap your brain around that for a sec. Yeah, everyone's like, oh man, I'm going to go to Alaska. Don't want to do that. I'll get eaten by a grizzly. Probably not. Probably trampled by a moose.
So for all of you looking to travel to Alaska anytime soon.
Yeah. In general, bears only kill about 1 person per year in the United States as a whole. So moose might not kill you, but more people are injured. But at least 2 people have died. I read a case where it seemed like 3 people have at least died from moose attacks.
Oh, wow.
Not to be too gory, but it's usually like either trampled to death, or one poor guy. This poor man was trying to he was a wildlife photographer, disappeared. They found him a day or 2 later, and he had been gored through the eye.
Wait, through the eyeball?
Through the eye.
First of all, what are the chances that, you know what I mean?
That's just your time.
6 foot spread, all right? And the one place it hits you is your eyeball.
Also, how did they know it was a moose? I don't know.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, it's missing an eyeball. Must be a moose.
But that's what they're claiming. There's just a note pinned to his chest. I did it. And there's with a hoof print.
From moose.
That's kind of statistic wise for that. Typically, this becomes a problem because moose just aren't that afraid of people. which makes them way more dangerous, as anybody who knows that are around animals that live in urban areas. So when they feel threatened, it's pretty often. Moose apparently are quite touchy. I didn't realize quite how touchy. Mothers are extremely protective of their babies. This is the same with all mothers. Do not mess with something's babies. Ever. You've heard of
just a general blanket rule.
Yeah,
don't mess with babies. Here comes mama.
And it says, we've all heard of mother bears being touchy, but mother moose are just as bad. Don't touch them, don't get near them or scare them. Don't even look at their babies. Mama will mess you up. So babies, they also can get really angry when they're harassed, as we all do. But in particular, they hate dogs.
Interesting.
They will go out of their way to kick dogs, which is absurd.
Just being mean.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? You can't be man's best friend anymore. Wham!
Yeah.
It's so mean.
I assume it's because they must look like wolves, which are their natural predators.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, or they just can't stand the way that dogs bark. I don't know. But
you're so annoying.
A lot of rushes and aggressive action takes place when someone's walking their dog and the dog starts barking and then the moose is like, screw this.
Yeah. They like their this peaceful, serene, and they're just out there munching on their leaves.
How dare you?
Here comes a dog barking. Kicks it.
When another reason that they can be super aggressive is when they're in rut. And for those of you who don't know what that means, you obviously didn't grow up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But
PA.
It's the breeding season for the deer family. So that's the fall. And the males get all pumped up on testosterone and get gross and smelly and big. And the male moose will fight with anything that gets in their way, whether it's another moose, a person, or even a swing set.
Yeah.
No joke. They will fight with swings. You can see videos online with them, their antlers all twisted up in the swings. They also can be aggressive when they've been hand-fed, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
You've stopped them being wild. But what I loved about the article that I was reading this from, it's not just like, oh, they've lost their fear of people. It's specifically when you stop hand-feeding them, they get mad because they're like,
as long as you keep it coming.
You don't have food anymore? Screw you. And then
die. I'm going to take your eyeball out. That's...
And the final reason that they can be aggressive is when they're feeling grouchy. That's literally what it was saying. Like when they're hungry or tired, which can you blame them?
Yeah, right.
I also am aggressive when I'm hungry and tired.
That sounds like Laura when she hasn't had her 10 a.m. snack.
Yes.
When you miss your snack, your morning snack. Yeah.
So what happens when a moose attacks? If you're lucky, you just get kicked, which is still not pleasant because it's a 1,300-pound animal.
That still sounds horrible.
With razor sharp hooves. If you aren't lucky, they will charge you, body slam or kick you to the ground, and then dance on your body.
Look what I'm doing.
This last part might not sound all that scary, but when something's 1,300 pounds jumping up and down on you with sharp cloven hooves, you dead.
I look at it as a celebration. In its little mind, it's like, yeah, I got you to the ground. And it's like jamming and in its head, it's like singing a little song and you're down there just
so much
screaming.
More morbid. So by far, moose attacks are super rare. What injuries, definitely more of those. And probably what constitutes the most danger from moose is being hit by cars.
Yeah.
So
I can't. Yeah. Okay, listen. Again, grew up in PA.
Yeah.
I've seen what hitting a deer with a car can do. Hitting a moose with your car is just terrifying.
Yeah, because as some articles were saying, when you hit a deer, you're hitting him in chest level. So that they're gonna fly away, off, over. But when you hit a moose, you're hitting only its legs because their legs are 4 feet tall. So you hit the legs, it falls onto your hood and slides into your windshield, which makes you much more likely to result in a fatality than by hitting a normal deer.
Yeah.
According to Michael Conover in the paper Numbers of Human Fatalities, Injuries, and Illnesses in the United States Due to Wildlife, which is such a long name for a paper,
Yeah, right.
but not unexpected. He estimates that approximately 640 people are injured and 6 killed in moose vehicle collisions every year.
Wow.
Yeah. And this isn't even the first time I heard about this because, okay, listen to this quick story. This is insane. I was told about a moose car crash in elementary school when a wildlife photographer visited. And I don't know, they called us all to the gym. We had this assembly. He was showing us his photos. I don't know how this came up. I remember nothing about him. What I do remember is that he told us that his daughter was killed in a car when it hit a moose, and that it sheared the roof off her car and killed everyone inside. Why would you tell that to 6th graders?
I know this really cool fact, guys, and
I know you can't drive, and I know there's no avoiding moose, but
I'm gonna scare you for the rest of your life. You will all gonna remember this forever.
It's like how I was terrified of quicksand for no reason.
Yeah.
Because we were told about it, and now I'm scared of moose.
Yeah.
But there is hope in this whole story, and it's you can easily be safe from moose. Easiest way is don't be stupid. Don't try and pet a moose. Don't try and feed a moose. Don't do any of those dumb things. And then if a moose does charge you, move. Preferably hide behind something larger than yourself is what it says. And then for driving, it's just as, trying not to hit anything. It's just driving the correct speed limit and, kind of keeping your eyes on the road. But before I finish,
for a 7 foot tall, 1,300 pound,
you never know what's coming out of those woods. Yeah. I mean, you need to be ready for anything: moose, bears, Sasquatch, anything.
Bigfoot,
children. I don't. Preferably not children coming out of the woods. That's just creepy. But I have this. So a lot of the facts, and you guys will be able to find our sources. In our descriptions of this. And one of the main places I got my information was the Alaskan Department of Fish and Game. They partnered with a Mirror Lake Middle School to make a video about aggressive moose, and it is so good. We will for sure put that link in the description so that you all can go and watch that video on your own. It is a treasure. Remember, moose are cool, but they're wild animals. What a great video. I didn't even watch close to the whole thing. It was
just the first little bit.
Okay. So yeah, that is my unexpected killer. Moose, probably most people don't think about as maybe potentially lethal, but they are.
Definitely are.
Not that for any of these animals we're saying, okay, be afraid of moose. No, that is not the message of all of this.
No,
just be respectful and careful of wildlife.
Just, always. That is the rule of thumb for absolutely anything. I mean, even down to insects. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You don't know what you're picking up. It can sting you, so just, it's respect and being careful.
As a lot of people in our field say, if it has a mouth, it can bite you. Truth.
Yes, all the time. True story. Yeah, okay. All right, so the unexpected killer that I'm focusing on, I've actually had firsthand experience with this. So it's one of the most terrifying, really Jurassic Park-esque experiences that I've ever had with this animal. So the unexpected killer I'm talking about is the cassowary. Woo! Definitely one of my favorite animals, just because I think it's just not so much favorite that I would ask for knickknacks of a cassowary. You know what I mean? For cassowary
Don't put yourself on that box.
No, because then
you'll never get anything else
except for cassowary. I don't even know how much stuff they make, for cassowaries, but anyway, so the cassowary. So a lot of the information that I got comes from San Diego Zoo, several other news stories, and then again, some of this is my firsthand experience of the flightless killers in Australia.
Nice.
All right, so there are 3 subspecies of the flightless bird that can be found in Northeast Australia up into New Guinea. They're omnivores, which a lot of people don't know because they think big bird. Okay, of course they're going to be eating plants and stuff. Nope, omnivores. So they eat a variety of seeds, plants, fungi, invertebrates, and small vertebrates. So in the wild, they can live up to 20 years, and in zoos, their lifespans can easily double that, which is with any animal,
Yeah,
you know?
Captivity definitely is usually double.
Yes, definitely. It doubles it. All right, so here's my problem with cassowaries, all right?
Personally?
Here's my personal problem with it, all right? Height-wise, they range from 3 feet to 5'6", depending on the subspecies. So a little
too big of a bird.
Yeah, too big of a bird. So a little known fact about me, I am very weary of any animal that I'm eye level with. So
I thought you said weary. I'm so weary with tall animals.
Wary. I'm very cautious. Okay, so I can hold an animal and it at eye level with me, fine. It can be way bigger than me, fine. Eye level, I just don't trust it. I don't know what it is. Whenever I was in Australia and I came eye to eye with an emu, just whole lot of no, just can't do it. And even
I would immediately think they're gonna poke my eyes out,
right? And I think that's what it is, because I just don't think not that I don't trust them. But birds, you can't
I don't trust birds.
You cannot trust birds. So,
for any of you bird lovers out there, we love birds too, but you cannot trust them.
Cannot trust them. So even though emus, can be a lot taller than cassowaries, cassowaries do have an added extra punch, literally. So it makes cassowaries the amazing killers is their 4-inch or 10 centimeters for our international listeners, a knife claw on their inner toe of their foot. All right, so this is
that the technical term, a knife claw?
No,
Okay.
totally not. I don't know if it has a technical term. I never came across it, but so do you remember like that opening scene in Jurassic Park where Dr. Grant, hottie alert, talks that super 90s looking kid about the 6-foot turkey?
Yes.
And he's like, this guy's about cutting open its prey across the belly. Yeah, spilling out your intestines. So we know that, Jurassic Park, they got a lot of things wrong as much as they got a lot of things right. But that's basically what a cassowary does. They don't actively hunt for humans or large vertebrates, but they can do a lot of damage to any sort of predator that's coming after them with a powerful kick and the knife toe, which we'll go ahead and just call it a knife toe.
Agreed.
When they feel threatened, or a shank, but I like knife toe. But essentially it's a shank. I mean, okay, just 4 inches.
I mean, it's a velociraptor claw.
Yes, yeah. It really, and it's 4 inches. And it's unlike a velociraptor, though. It's not even hooked. It's just straight. You know what I mean? So it's just like just a knife. So knife toe. We're running with knife toe. So not only they have this knife toe to disembowel or slice up an unwelcome guest if they need to, but like the moose, they can run up to 30 miles an hour. And even crazier is they can jump 7 feet straight up in the air. Isn't that nuts? Like, just
yes.
So part of me, as much as I don't trust them, I also want to spook one.
Yeah.
To see like, how do you know that it can jump 7 feet? Is this like because it's jumped over your fence?
Right. And are we talking standing jump or running jump?
It is said straight up.
That is insane.
Several sources, it says straight up. So unlike deer, they can jump pretty high, but it's a run and a jump.
Yeah.
Several things I said, it's straight up. And I remember whenever we were learning about them, because I'll go into a little story later on. But whenever we were learning about them in Australia, I do remember that being one of the things, is that thinking, oh my gosh, they can jump over me and then some. So, a bird...
Do you think they flap their wings when they jump?
I don't know.
I know they can't fly, but I wonder if they flap them.
You would think for height. Balance. You know what I mean? Like kind of like a balance thing. So, thinking like a bird 5'6", about 200 pounds, and it can jump 7 feet in the air. I don't care who you are. Like, that's terrifying. Alone. Yeah. And then, they have their knife toe added on into it. So that's just a whole lot of trouble. And they have like a lot of escape tactics. So they really are elusive. They don't want to be around people. They really don't. Kind of like moose, like, humans, as our populations grow, it clashes with nature. And that's really what's happening with a lot of the cassowaries. Is beaches, like you can see them in Australia, like on the beaches and stuff now, coming and you're hiking, and so you can run across them, but they really do prefer to be sneaky. If you're feeding them,
which is even scarier.
Yeah, no, exactly, way more terrifying. So that's a little bit of natural history about them. So let's talk about these fellas killing people. So again, sort of like the moose, they haven't killed a lot of people, but they do a lot of damage when they do, because they do slice them up pretty bad, and they have killed some people. So, so even though they're from Australia and New Guinea, in Florida, a gentleman in the spring, in 2019, a 75-year-old was attacked and then later died at the foot of a cassowary he kept on his farm.
Yeah, okay, never mind. I take back my surprise look because now I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, right.
I gotta tell you a cassowary story when you're finished.
Right? Okay, so one, why keep it as a pet? Just, again, goodness.
I mean, people would have velociraptors as pets.
If they were here, I'm convinced someone would have a T-Rex as a pet. That is,
oh yeah,
somebody would have it as a pet.
Instead of Tiger King, it'd be T-Rex King.
Yeah, it 100% would be. So details are still a little fuzzy on what really happened, but he was caring for the bird when he fell and it attacked him. He survived the initial attack, but died later at the hospital. So the autopsy showed that he had more than a dozen deep puncture wounds and lacerations, right?
Totally a shank.
But the lethal hit was a slice to his arm, which severed an artery.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It's pretty hard to live through that.
It's that knife toe. So the lacerations were mostly across his face, neck, back, abdomen, thighs, legs, and then again, that lethal hit in the right arm. So unfortunately, if this wasn't all enough, the guy, because he was 75, also suffered a heart attack during all of this as well. So not only is he being sliced to bits,
oh jeez, the poor guy,
right? He also had a heart attack. So it definitely takes an experienced group of individuals or a facility like a accredited zoo to care for these birds, because they're just definitely not pets, and that is case in point. Just leave these things to the professionals and leave them in the wild. So in Australia, though, where the birds where they're native to, a lot of the problems come when people try to approach them. Again, just like moose, why?
Yeah.
Okay, why would you approach a 5-foot tall bird with a tow knife? And you know what I mean? It's like common. Okay, first of all, Australia, I know they're crazy. So many things can kill you over there. But
yeah, but I wonder if it's tourist. I would be curious to know how many are native Australians and how many are crazy tourists.
Yeah, a tourist. It's got to be the same thing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because how many times there was that person that put the bison in the back of their car, remember? Yep, you know what I mean? Yep. And that was like Americans, and you should know better than to put a bison into the back of your car. Like,
so it's probably just Americans,
right?
It's probably that's the problem.
Camilla, yeah.
I think it's just that we've lost all sense of being anywhere in the food chain.
Yes.
So like it just doesn't mean anything anymore.
Forget that huge bird with its knife toe. I want to feed it.
I want to touch it.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Going on its way. Nope. Humans gotta pet it. Just gotta pet it. So, but again, like for me, it's the height might be its best evolutionary advantage, because for me, I would never go against something that's my height. So for me, forget the knife, the toe knife. For me, it's the height. If any animal ever gets to be like 5 foot tall, where it can look me in the eye, I'm not gonna get near it.
I'm out.
I'm not. So in 2012 in Australia, a tourist was kicked off a cliff.
Oh my gosh!
By a cassowary into water below.
Oh my gosh. So, did they live?
Yes, he did. So the gentleman, they did an interview with him. His name was Dennis Ward, and the news article that I was reading said, it just came straight up to me, decided to pick on me for some reason. I don't know what for. Next thing, thump. I copped a boot in the back, and I was tumbling down the bank, he said. He said it was pretty high, the cliff, again, about 7 foot tall. I hit the ledge near the bottom.
Okay. I'm picturing a like 40 foot
feet,
cliff.
Yeah. So I was dying.
7 foot cliff. Come on.
Cliff. So I was dying. But still, 7 feet is pretty high. Yeah. But he hit a ledge near the bottom and bounced off. Okay, this is his quote. I hit off the ledge near the bottom and bounced off into the drink. So the drink, the water.
Okay, is he Australian or British?
No, they said Australian.
Okay.
Yeah. So not only did he cop a boot in the back, but then you bounced off into the drink.
Australians, we love you.
We really do.
But some of the words you use are hilarious.
I feel like I was born in the wrong country. I should not have been born in the U.S. I definitely should have been born in Australia. Not that I would have, walked up and pet birds with toe knives, but definitely love Australia.
Yeah. I'm picturing, as you tell me this story, all I'm picturing is this out of nowhere. This guy's just like taking in the scenery. Right. This cassowary comes running up behind him for no reason and like Sparta kicks him off this cliff.
Cassowary! Because what do they say? Oi, oi, oi! Like the Australian chant. Goodness.
Yeah, I'm just picturing though like this is Sparta kick, but from a cassowary.
Right? With a knife toe. With their toe knife. Which, again, 4 inches long.
Just keep saying it.
Yeah, which is nuts.
For the love of nature, that is far too long of a toe.
Again, it's unnecessary. It is 100% unnecessary. 4 inches long. So several other reported cases, cassowaries have kicked people who have tried to feed them, of course, and clearly it's gone wrong. Or they have chased joggers up trees that I was reading about. Again, they try to be elusive, but just like moose, you're around their young, kind of your paths cross and they're going to let you know to get out of here. So my own experience, though, was whenever I was in Australia and we were helping with a cassowary count at Mission Beach, which is one of the more popular places to see cassowary. They're everywhere. I mean, if you're looking, if you spend enough time there, chances are you're going to end up seeing one in the wild. And I'll tell you what, like we never saw, because we were only there for a couple days, and we never really clearly saw a cassowary in the wild. But on one of the days, whenever we did the census count, definitely heard them in the jungle around us. Again, totally Jurassic Park feeling, walking down the path, just doing our thing, and you just know. It's like one of those, like, the hair raises up on your back kind of thing. Me and another undergrad student, we would get up pretty, we were walking up pretty far because people were like talking and whatnot. And we're like, no, we want to see a cassowary. And, when you're that age, you're invincible. So we were like, we got to see a cassowary. And I think the farther we got ahead of the group, the more terrifying it became because I know that there were a couple, two different distinct times whenever we would be up front and we would just hear ruffling, like straight, again, velociraptor, straight ruffling, the shadows. It was just definitely terrifying, mostly because we knew the damage that the birds could do. And then, we're just 2 innocent undergraduate students up there just searching for killer's poop because they're so elusive. That's the best way to find them is by their poop. And so a lot of people might know this, but, you can tell a lot. I mean, even from humans, but you can tell a lot about animals from their scat droppings. And so that's the best way to count the cassowary and do different census is how much when you found them and what is in them, because then you can figure out where they're eating and where they're moving. And so we're just up there trying to, count poop pretty much is like, that's all we're doing. And it was one of the most thrilling things because I was so excited to be like doing real science and like contributing to a real project. But at the same time, the first time we saw like one of those shadows run through, the woods beside us in the bush, we were just like, I immediately was like, all right, this could be it. That's
how I felt when I was doing jaguar research.
Right? Yeah.
You're like, is this it?
This could be it. This could 100% be it. And at that...
But also, like, worth it.
Yes, exactly. If I have to go down anywhere and it's by a cassowary with its 4-inch knife toe, as long as it doesn't like disembowel me, you know what I mean? Because that's got to be one of the worst ways to go. Being, slow. Disemboweled, like
gut wound,
right? Yeah. Oh no, thank you.
But it'd be a sweet epitaph, like on your tombstone, if for a like
gone
to die
by a knife toe, like just it. So that's pretty much all I have about cassowaries. You said you had one?
Yeah, so mine wasn't in the wild. Before I was a zoo educator, I was a zookeeper, and I did take care of a cassowary.
Nuts.
Whose name was Cassie, because we're
original.
Okay,
I saw the K come out of your mouth, and I really thought it was going to be Kevin, and I was about to die.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so much better.
Kevin,
so much better.
The cassowary. Okay, continue.
No, it was
I would have
Cassie.
died.
But she was awesome and terrifying at the same time.
Right?
And, they've got those, like, modified feathers on their wings that look like spines.
Yes.
So, like, she was okay with me, but I saw a couple other keepers she didn't like. And when she was upset, she would jump at the fence and grab on with her feet for a second. Yeah. But while she was waiting to eat, she would walk back and forth on the fence line with those wing spines and go, which was so, like, you're like, like, it was really cool, but, like, terrifying. And, part of her diet was, like, thawed rats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, like, seeing a bird eat a thawed rat is whole.
Yes.
Is terrifying.
Because they pick it and they, like, flick it and they
just
right
flick
down.
it in the air and gulp it down whole. And you're like, oh, snap.
Because I really didn't go into much of it's, like, what it actually looks like. But, I mean, we'll post some pictures of cassowaries, a couple that I took too, up on our Instagram. Again, it's Footlong Podcast, FTLON Podcast. So look it up, but it's like a bright blue head, and then it has with
a bone plate
with a bone plate on the top for getting through, like, the thick brush. Because I mean, the rainforest that these birds are in is so immensely thick, and so they got to be able to run through it as fast as they can. But bright blue faces, I mean, it really is a very unique, but also we joke whenever we say velociraptor, but it is 100% like Jurassic Park dinosaur of a bird. It totally is. So
its feathers don't even look like, they look almost hairy rather than feathery.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's a totally bizarre bird.
Totally. So we'll post pictures up. One that I took. We'll find a good one of their feet too, and then one of the little murder floofs, because just like any birds, they're really cute when they're little, and then at some point in their lives they don't become cute anymore. But cassowaries become majestic. There's a word for them. So they're cute when they're little, and then they get majestic killers as they get older. So there is my unexpected killer, the cassowary.
I hope that all of you listening out there, I hope that at least a few of you did not know there was a giant bird running around Australia that could disembowel you.
Yeah, right. With its knife toe. which we're just going to call that it for now on. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening. We're going to be releasing an episode next week. Do we want to tell them what the topic is? I mean, I feel
like we should, at least this first couple times.
For the first
we
one.
Want you guys to keep listening.
Yeah, we gotta hook them in somehow. Laura, do you want to tell them what the next episode is?
Yes. So next week, we all know that it's that special time of year where romance is in the air, and it will be on our podcast as well, because we are going to be talking about lit animal sex.
That's right, animal sex. Now, I want to say it's not going to be R-rated, but at the same time, like, if you watch an R-rated movie, you know what I mean? Like, they're not so bad. Like, R-rated movies when we were kids used to be, like, really, really bad. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about animal sex. Nothing too crazy, but it's
I'm not going to be talking about the act, but definitely, like, biology. I mean, we're talking biology here, so...
It's definitely going to be fun. So make sure you follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at FTLON Podcast, For the Love of Nature Podcast. You can search that. Give us a follow, and then tune in next week where we're going to be talking about lit animal sex. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Bye.
All right. See you guys next week.